So hello everyone, welcome to the 10th reading session. Like officially, this is the last for season one, and I mean to say by season one is that Siva will be taking a break for some time. Like he has some other commitments right now. So let's enjoy this. This paper is about unifying vision and language tasks via text generation, authored by Jae Min Cho, Ji Lei, and Hao Tan, Mohit Bansal. And this paper was accepted in the conference ICML this year. So yeah, let's go ahead and have a look at what this paper presents and what are the basic ideas and intuitions that we get. Over to you, Siba.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you for such a nice and warm introduction. Earlier, I used to introduce both of us, but times have changed, it seems. So, hello everyone. Welcome to this 10th reading session organized by Kharagpur Data Analytics Group. Uh, so today is August 7th, and today I'm going to present the paper Unifying Vision and Language Task via Text Generation. So the title seems very big, but indeed it's a very nice paper, and the idea is very simple but yet effective. So this is accepted in ICML as someone said. So let's begin. Before starting, very briefly, let's go to some old standard important notes. So we expect you all to have queries during the presentation, and this time we also set the paper late. So yeah, definitely you can ask the question, but please, it would be better if you could put them in the chat box so that we can answer at the end. The next thing is at the end we will share a Google form which will be basically feedback, so you can provide that and you can add any AI related paper that we can present in upcoming sessions. So here are some important links like to the GitHub repo, to our Slack workspace, our YouTube channel, and there is a doc on good AI blogs, resource and topics. Okay, so let's start with the major contribution of this paper. So they propose a framework which is called VL-D5 and VL-BART. D5 and BART are basically the written language models. So VL basically means visual language. So what they try to do here, that they try to create a unified framework which basically learns different tasks in a single architecture with multimodal conditional text generation. So basically what this means is that all the different tasks which includes visual language, earlier they were used to be discriminative. So it will be best if I show you one picture, like, yeah, I'm skipping a number of things. Okay, this is the picture. So if you see earlier, if there was a task of selecting, like you can see the example in A, like the three, okay, the original image is here. So this image is going to be the of prime focus. So the image is a person, blue colored shirt wearing person is jumping over a yellow fire hydrant and someone is the watching behind in this picture. So basically the three main regions they select and they pass it to the model. And let's say the first task, it is like, what is the man jumping over? So if we try to propose it as a discriminative task, then we would select the one which is with the highest probability, and we'll say that, okay, it's a fire hydrant. So this is a multi-level classification format. Uh, but what they do basically is they try to make all this discriminative task into a generative task. So basically, if you see there are a bunch of tasks, like if I show some bunch of tasks, like there is visual question answering, there is caption region, captioning, spam prediction, everything. We'll go through them basically what they are. So these can be modeled as a discriminative task, and for each of the tasks, there will be different type of architecture, different type of discriminative architecture, like you can say some classification type thing. But if you try to make them as generative tasks, then if all the tasks can be learned using text generation. So that's the main idea of this paper, that they do not want different discriminative models for each of the tasks, but they want one single model which is trained using generative tasks that will be beating or giving some good performance. Okay. Yeah. The next is, so they learn to generate the labels as text on the visual and textual inputs. So if I go to that picture again, so it's like they are not having some class like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and they will say that, okay, class 1 is having the highest probability, so it's the answer. But they will try to output the class like fire hydrant. Like if you see the picture in C and D, so they try to give that class as the output, like it's a text generation type of thing. It's not a discriminative classification type of thing. So this is that. second idea. The next is please keep yourself mute. That would be better. The next is again a repetition that earlier model has representative tasks. This paper provides a generative approach. And the next is generative approach actually helps to actually leads to generation of open-ended natural language answers. Whereas the discriminative task we obtained had a fixed set of options. So if the answer, like uh, in some cases, the generative task can lead to some innovative kind of thing which was actually desired and gives a better view of the answer rather than having a fixed set of options and selecting one out of them. Okay. Now, coming straight to the model has three important parts. One is visual embeddings, one is the text embeddings, another one is the encoder decoder architecture. Okay, the slides have gone haywire, but okay. So starting with visual embedding. So what happens is, so to the model, they're going to multimodal. So they're going to give both images as well as the text as the input. So what they do is from the picture, they try to extract various region of interest. This is a technical term, region of interest. So this has been generated by some architecture, you can say like RCNN or something. So they use RCNN, you can go to the paper. And so they propose 36 such regions, which they say regions of interest. Forget about all these jargons. Just remember some important part of the image, which they say as region of interest. The next is the bounding box coordinates. So in the figure, where exactly that picture, where exactly that region lies. So the bounding box coordinates. The next is image IDs. So image ID is required because let's say we want to give two images as the input, like in one of the tasks, NLVR, natural language visual reasoning. Yeah. So it basically means that I will give two images and I will give a sentence regarding that, and I have to say true or false. So I'm giving two images as the input. So I have to identify that these are the region of proposal of image one. These are the region of proposal for image, region of interest for image two. So how to identify them? That is on the basis of image IDs. The next is the region IDs. So like in this picture that I displayed very early in the session, there was like this picture where the man was jumping, and let's say we consider three region of interest, then they will be symbolized by viz underscore one, viz underscore two, and viz underscore three. These are some additional tokens. So if I want to create the visual embeddings for this image, then it will be like I'll extract the three region of interest, then they will be having one region of features, one bounding box coordinate. Next is the image IDs and the region IDs. So all these four combined will give me the visual embeddings. So basically, if this is the entire so okay, you can see here one of the images. Yeah, so in the visual embedding, you can see I am adding three visual embeddings. So each will contain those four things. Okay, so the final embedding will be EV equal to E1V dot 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 till ENV. So here will be from E1 to E3. Okay, so basically this bounding box and ROI features are being done with the help of linear layers. Like bounding box, there are four coordinates are there, and I will pass them through a linear layer to make a embedding size of let's say n. And this image IDs and region IDs are going to be learned similar to what we do in BERT for tokens. They're going to be treated as tokens. Okay, now coming to the text embeddings. So in the text embeddings, yeah, what we will do is different prefixes for different tasks. Next will be, we are adding some set of very specific tokens, which we call visual sentinel tokens. And so the total augmented text will be EX, which is E1X till the length of X. So basically the text embedding is very similar to what we do in BERT and all other model. Just the addition of some special tokens like vis1 till vis_n. Okay. So yeah, next is the encoder decoder architecture. It's very similar to what we generally see. Encoder is a bidirectional multimodal. Multimodal where we're giving more than one input. Bidirectional is okay, you can understand. Next is M transformer blocks are there. They have self-attention thing. Then they have also fully connected layer and residual connection. Standard what we do for BART and T5. So the basic model that they're using as the predictive language model, it's basically the BART and T5, and hence the name BL BART and BLT5. Okay, so that's the encoder. Decoder is very similar to encoder, only there will be cross attention layer, which basically it takes help of encoder side. like this, that is the cross attention. Decoder takes help from encoder, and self attention is also there within the decoder. Okay, now how the loss basically would be? The loss would be very exactly same as the loss that we use while generating text. It will be conditioned on the previous output. What will be the next output? What will be next token's probability? And basically that only. Okay. Yeah. Now the framework for visual grounding task. So yeah. So can you like pause the recording for a bit?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so if we combine everything, then it will be like the task is visual grounding. Visual grounding basically means identifying the region which basically says what is in the text. So if I say the task is visual grounding, then the prefix will be there. Like we saw, there'll be a prefix for each of the tasks. Visual grounding, then will be fire hydrant. So I want to identify in which of the region there is fire hydrant. And if I try to model a discriminative task, then I will have three classes, and I will say that okay, the third class is having the highest probability, so it's going to answer. But they try to make it as a generative task, so it will have viz underscore 3 as the output. Okay. So this is the comparison between the existing distributive architecture and their unified generative architecture. The main help or the main achievement is that they do not require different specified like special models, special discriminative model for each of the tasks. Rather, only a single model which has been trained on generative task is able to do all the jobs. That's like the key takeaway from this entire thing. Okay, very nice. Now coming to some input output format for different tasks in pre-training. So basically this model like VLT5 or VLPART is going to be pre-trained on a bunch of tasks. Then it will be applied on a downstream task. That's how we all do things. So for the pre-training, they are using span prediction. You can see like a text one is text two over 500. So the target text, like the generated text they want, is text one man, text two jumping. Then if we take like let's say VQA, visual question answering, then the input would be what is the color of the man shirt, and the output they expect is blue. So earlier, if it would have been a discriminative task, then there would have been four classes, let's say blue, green, pink, and red. And for blue, we want the highest probability. So, but now they do not need any specific architecture. Rather, they would just expect the model to give the output blue as a text generation. Similarly, caption region, they would provide base 3 and they expect the output to be yellow fire hydrant. And they then apply this on various downstream tasks, such as visual question answering. Basically, they use two things, two dataset, and they say it can be done using one prefix VQA. Next is NLP, natural language visual reasoning. So this is basically a text is given and then true false will be there. So we will see what exactly happens in it. Visual common sense reasoning, similarly grounding, visual grounding. Okay, so something might be unclear. Let me just clarify what this task are. VCR basically would be like a question will be given, you have to say the answer for that and a particular reasoning for that, I mean rational here. So the format will be given a Q, you want to predict A and R. If you have like any proper doubts, we can discuss just after the presentation, or you can also see the paper. Okay, very nice. Now, visual grounding basically means expression will be given and you have to identify the region. Caption will be like nothing will be text input, but the image will be there and you have to generate the caption. Then there will be caption tags, like different tags are given. On the basis of that, you will generate the caption. And they also try to use this into one of the downstream tasks, which is translating from English to German. So English text is given, no visual input will be given, but they have to generate the German text. Okay. So these tasks are extremely detailed in the paper, but I try to provide a concise idea about them. Okay, now let us see the results. So this is like the last part of the presentation, results. So they, first of all, so the comparison between the discriminative and generative form of same model like VLT5. So VLT5 is what they are proposing is generative, but let us assume that VLT5 is there, but instead of the generative part, we apply classification head or classification thing over top of it, then it becomes a discriminative task. So they show that using the generative approach provides better results than the, and the one important here is this is the top answers. Like these are the top answers generally using output by discriminative models. General answers that to be output by this. So they select some of them and say that these are the there'll be multi-head attention on top of that to say true or false. So they saw that using the triplet format like image 1, image 2, and text. So if you remember, image 1 will be identified by image ID 1, image 2 by image ID 2, and the text is given. So they saw that this triplet form is actually comparable to the other discriminative models. So they saw that, and you also notice that triplet requires one model while pair and bi-attention require two models. So it's like with half the computational cost, they are providing almost similar performance. So like this generative task is actually doing some magic. Yeah, there are a bunch of results now, nothing else. So yeah, just one thing. Yeah, you notice PT basically means with pre-training. So this so that VLT5 reaches a good performance, but VLBART doesn't reach a good performance in referring expression comprehension. So basically, if you remember, this referring COCO-G basically means visual grounding, which will be a referring expression will be given, and like some expression will be given, and then you have to give the reason ID as the output. Had it been discriminative, there will be fixed set of reason ID, you have to select one of them, but here they will try to do it as a generative fashion. So yeah, just they saw that BART actually performs quite a lot bad, like 20, it drops down to 20%. So this they attribute the fact that BART generally adds learn absolute position embedding to text token, while the T5 uses relative position bias. So it's like yeah, something in the BART if you see it's fixed, so it doesn't able to adapt something kind of that you can think. Okay. Yeah, they also saw the results over machine translation. And yeah, so one important thing is visual and language pre-training doesn't help much. The results are quite comparable. Like if you see VLT5 without the check mark and VLT5 with the check mark, the results are kind of comparable. So one thing is that like here we are not adding any visual stuff. So visual and language pre-training doesn't help actually much. And all the information that is required to do this machine translation is already there in the original data set. So like there is a one paragraph regarding this in the paper, but this is the crux of it. Okay, so just one last thing. Yeah, they also show comparison of single task and multitask fine tuning. Yeah, so they basically show that one single, like let's consider, I mean, how I can say, okay, so if a single model will try to solve all the tasks, or it would be like one single model for each of the tasks. So if we select one single model, then it will be a the parameters, like the parameter space would be 7, not the parameter space, but the parameter size would be 7 times. So they saw that if a model is trained to tackle all the 7 tasks simultaneously, the 7 tasks are given above, which includes both generative as well as discriminative. So how they train basically, so to speak, they prepare a batch of one task, send it to the model, then prepare a batch of another task, send it to the model again. So fine tuning for 20 more epochs, the results are quite comparable. So it's like we do not require single task models. We are multitask fine tuning does a great job. And yeah, using one single CAD or task specific head. So if you use task specific head, there'll be 7, like you can say 7 different heads are there, for one head for each of the activity or each of the task. But they also show that using one single head is able to achieve quite comparable performance. So the basic idea I'd like to take from here would be instead of using, like let's say there are 5 discriminative tasks and some generative tasks, instead of using specific architecture, specific discriminative type training for each of them, we can use one generative to do them all. And one additional benefit is that we do not require any specific heads and all the specific nitty-gritty architecture detail and everything that comes with discriminative. Like if you put a simple neural network on top of a model to give the classification, to do the classification, then you have to think like how many layers and uh, how many layers, how many hidden units, and everything, like lots of headache come. But if you do it as generative task, you know, like this is the output, this is going to the text generated. So there is not much of that problem. Yeah, the next is generative approach is better suited for open-ended visual question answering. So the last thing that I said, these are the main ideas. So yeah, the time is going out. It would be best if we can end here and restart the meeting again so that you have any doubts you can ask. First of all, it would be best if you can stop the recording. So